Transforce96 here with another review. This time we have a Hot Toys Amazing Spider-Man 2 Electro figure. So overall, this figure I doubt is going to do very well. And it's not really to do with the figure, but just because of the movie. Like, a lot of people didn't like the movie, and it's not like they didn't like the movie but they liked the character, but it was basically they didn't like the movie, and I think the majority of people did not like Electro altogether. So overall, I doubt this is going to be a well-selling figure. However, I'm a huge Marvel villain fan, and although I was disappointed with the movie and with this character, I love Electro from the comics, and I'm a huge Spider-Man villain fan, and I'm a Marvel villain fan in general, so this was a absolute must-have for me and something I was very excited for, even if the movie was disappointing and didn't inspire me to absolutely love this Electro, but still very excited to get this figure, and I'm happy to have it. Overall, the box is really simple. It's just a picture of him on the front with kind of words on it, and you know, it's probably some quote that he says in the movie. I can't remember. It's in a very simple shoebox style of packaging. I'm not a fan of the shoebox type of thing. I like it better when you open up the top and take out the tray instead of just like taking this entire top and pulling it out type of thing. So overall, fine though, you know, who really cares about the box, but there you go. It's got, you know, decent artwork on the front. Now let's get on to the figure. Alright, so here's Electro out of package, but before we go into the figure, let's go over his accessories. Alright, so Electro comes with 8 hands in total, 4 for each side. As you can see, he's got 2 different styles of hands as well. He's got 4 hands that are gloved with the end of the finger showing, and they are translucent. They're really meant for the light up feature, as well as he comes with 4 hands that are done in his skin kind of texture, that blue kind of sparkly type of look almost. And then with the gloved hands, you get 2 relaxed palms, 2 open kind of firing electricity hands. And then with the skin hands, you get the 2 fists, and then 2 hands open, kind of doing electricity again. Overall, the selection of hands is pretty good. You know, you really got fist, relaxed palms, and then a blast hands. Although I find it very strange that he does come with the skin hands, considering, well, he's in this costume, he only wears gloves. So I don't know why we do get the skin hands, and I would have much preferred that instead of them, we just got the same hands, like up here, same things, just without the translucent. So just this paint right here on that finger, you know, I think that would be much better, because while you display them without the lights, the translucent fingers just, I don't really like. I would have much preferred to actually have these skin fingers, yet I don't want the entire skin hands, because that's just not how he looks in the movie. So yeah, overall though, going over just the detail in the hand itself, really awesome. I mean, the same goes on the face, which I'll be discussing very shortly here. As you can see, just looking awesome. I love that the color, the texture, I'm not quite sure what it is. It's got like a frosty look. I really like it a lot, and just really quite interesting. Definitely fascinating. Of course, the palms that have gloves obviously have translucent fingers. A little bit of blue at the end though, and it kind of does look like the glove is kind of melting off, which I think it's an awesome look. I absolutely love that kind of melted off type of look. Overall, a decent amount of hands. Of course, wish that we got more gloved hands, or got any gloved hands that actually had textured fingers instead of the translucent ones. Electro also comes with a flight stand. This is in the kind of triangular type of shaped base that we get with like Falcon and Superman, General Zod, the new Thor, you know, that type of thing. Overall, originally when I first saw the artwork on it, I didn't like it with the original pictures. I thought it was just too goofy. Getting it in person though, I do like the signature bolt that Electro is kind of symbol, and then the electricity in the background. I do think it looks cool. The only problem is I expected it to be like painted on here or something, but it's just cardboard. It's just, you know, cheap cardboard laid on it. It moves when you touch it. I just don't like it at all. I think it gives it a really cheap look, or at least it gives it a cheap feel, but it doesn't look cheap. At least when you're looking at it, you really can't tell that it's just a little cardboard piece of paper on top of a base. So that's kind of nice that at least you can't tell just by looking at it, but you can feel it, unfortunately. He's got a nice Amazing Spider-Man 2 Electro, you know, kind of chrome nameplate, and of course a standard flight stand pole there. Overall, decent base. I think it's quite nice. It's hard to get him in the articulation stances of a flight pose though, because of his lack of thigh articulation. You really can't do much with having him fly around, so I think it's a little unnecessary. I'm not actually going to display it with him. I'm displaying him without a base. He stands up fine without one, and I think I like figures when they're not on bases for some reason, so I'm just not displaying him on a base. But overall, this is a nice one and does look pretty cool, and yeah, if you didn't want him to fly on it, you could just have him stand on this thing, and although it would take up a lot of space, it would look quite nice. Alright, so you get a total of 4 electric blasts for Electro. They all can fit on his hand. Overall, they're pretty nice. I mean, you get 2 smaller ones if you just want a shorter blast, and then you get 2 longer ones if you want a longer blast there. Pretty simple, though. When they first originally showed the preview picture for Electro, before they showed the actual official pictures, when they just showed the preview, I was really excited to see all the fun, like, electricity stuff that we were going to get, because I expected that if Hot Toys is going to, if one company is going to make Electro, Hot Toys is going to make them with all the cool electricity blasts. And, you know, they did these, which are great, but I would have expected a lot more. I would have liked some that are kind of fit over his boots to kind of make it look like when he's taking a step, like electricity's kind of shooting out. I think that would have been awesome. Also on the bolts on his costume, I would have liked little just kind of balls of electricity that can just fit over them to kind of look like they're kind of electrifying, or he's kind of charging, as well as some just other electricity pieces to fit on his body to make it look like he's like supercharging, or to actually fit on your Spider-Man to make it look like he's electrocuting Spider-Man. I think that they could have done a ton of cool stuff with these electricity blasts, and yet they've opted to go the simple route with just 2 smaller, 2 larger blasts. So I would have liked to see more, but that's just me personally. Overall, they are sculpted pretty cool. I mean, they're translucent, and there's just a mixture of pink and blue. Something that originally I wouldn't have thought would look good, but you know, it looks good. I like it. I think that it looks pretty interesting and as realistic as you're going to get to making electricity in plastic. So I think overall it does do a good job. So let me show you how it looks actually on his arm. Alright, so here he is with the electricity blast on. Basically, there's 2 kind of open areas on the electric blast, as you can see right here. So you just stick his fingers in between this bottom layer and this top layer of electricity, and that's how you put how you put it on him. Overall, I think it's a really interesting idea to attach it. This is the longer one, as you can see, and overall looks good. You know, nothing amazing about it, but it does look really nice. It's definitely great for taking pictures, of course. I think that would be quite nice, and overall, just it does look really cool. He does look really nice with it. The only issue I have with it is it's hard to, because I want to leave him in a pose with the electricity, yet I'm worried about the articulation affecting his suit, so it does scare me to leave him in a pose like this, but I'll talk about that in a second here when I do go over articulation. Overall, it does fit on his hand nicely, and it looks pretty decent, although I really do think that they could have made a lot of much cooler electric accessories. Alright, so now to go over the figure. First of all, starting off on this head sculpt. I think that this is a pretty strong part of the figure here. I really like the way that it's painted a lot. It's got a really nice, like I said with the hands, kind of frosty almost look, which I think is pretty cool. Like, it's kind of textured that way too. I really like it a lot. His ear kind of looks kind of melted off like into his face, which I think is pretty interesting. On this side, at least. On this side, it doesn't really look like that. You got the little chip there showing him how much power he has. I like the eyes with the pupils really kind of standing out and looking good. I mean, it must be really hard to do something like this, to make a plastic representation of an actor who's wearing makeup with special effects on top of it. So I think they did a stunning job, the best that they could have done for how hard that would be, I think. Overall, looking great. The suit itself is pretty nice. It's got a nice kind of rubber type of look to it. He's got like all these electric kind of bolts in him that have like little bolt symbols on them, which looks neat. He's got the nice kind of neck piece there, as you can see, kind of goes up his neck, looking pretty decent. He's got the classic electric bolt from, the classic suit of Electro. I think that that's pretty neat. I'm pretty happy that he's got that. Overall, looking cool. I do like the black that has like metallic blue kind of sprayed onto it almost. I think it looks pretty neat, and all the kind of veins looking like. I think that just the actual design of the suit is pretty cool from the movie. Even if, he wasn't fantastic in the movie, I think the suit is designed pretty nicely. I like it a lot. That's just my opinion, though. overall looking pretty cool. And I like that kind of bluish hue that it has, especially at the bottom of the boots here. I think that just looks pretty interesting. The only thing I don't like is kind of the shape of the body. I think that it looks a little strange. I wish that the sides here could be moved in a little bit further. They look like they just stick out. He looks so cylinder-like, you know? I would have liked it to be larger up top that kind of goes down skinny at the bottom, which it kind of has that look, but it doesn't have it enough, and it makes, I think that these lines also make him just look too bulky, you know, just kind of in the ab area. I would have definitely liked to see this thinned out on the sides here, because it does give him a strange look, and I think that there's padding there, which is why it really doesn't, it should go in more. I just kind of don't like that look, but overall, that's just me. Overall, he does look really nice. So now let's go into the articulation. Alright, so talking about articulation, first of all, the head is on a magnet, which is pretty nice. You can look up super far, look down, side to side, the whole bit. Although I don't quite know how magnets work, I hope that they don't wear out, but I would like to see Hot Toys use this more, because it's a pretty interesting thing here, and definitely allows you to have just extra articulation, which is great. From there on, though, that's when this figure kind of fails. It does get very difficult to move the articulation, considering the suit is so rubbery and skin tight. But we go down the shoulders, and it has, it's supposed to have all the normal articulation. You can definitely move it up pretty high, actually. But that's about as far as high. That's about as high as you're going to get on it, and it does seem to be stressing the suit there. I hope that if you left him like this for too long, he could definitely develop some creases there, permanent creases, which is definitely something you don't want. But, of course you can execute a nice hand up with the lightning shooting out, because mostly because of that fantastic wrist articulation. The wrist is on a ball joint, not like a normal ball joint, more like an Iron Man style, where it can be manipulated, because of course it does have a light that shoots up into the actual fingers there. So I do like the articulation on the wrist. He does have hinges at the elbows. That's about as far as you're going to get, and then again you are creasing it very strongly and pulling on that symbol, that electrocution symbol. He doesn't really have any articulation in the waist due to the costume. The thighs hinder the costume completely, almost. Like, you can barely go inside or out or forward and back. The knees are hinged, so you can move a decent amount, again creasing the suit though. And the ankles, this is kind of like a rubberish part, so you can move it, but it is again hindered by the costume. He looks alright if you just have him standing with his arm up, but like I said, I'd be afraid to kind of leave him like this for too long, because the suit could definitely start to permanently stay there, which would be very annoying. I stay with the creases, I mean. So overall, I like the look of the suit. It's not quite too functional though, but it is a skin-tight rubber-looking suit, so it's going to be hard to make it functional anyway. But overall, I wouldn't say you're doing anything super dynamic with this guy, but I would definitely like some extra articulation to have him in more of a natural flying stance with like one of his legs up and kind of bent at the knee. That would have looked nice, and just to be able to do more stuff like that you're not able to do because of his hindered articulation from the costume. So here he is with one really interesting feature, which is the fact that he has lights in his head. For a human figure, that is definitely completely unique, I would say. I don't know if there's another figure out there that has lights like this, as far as from Hot Toys. Overall, looking really cool. As you can see, he has a slightly translucent head, although when you don't have the lights on, his head doesn't look translucent, which is really nice. But it gives him an awesome glow inside the head, which just looks spectacular. It lights up the pupils too. Just awesome. I mean, man, they did a wonderful job with this. I really expected when we got it in person that it wouldn't be noticeable. It would just be so dim, that you couldn't notice it. But in fact, it is actually completely noticeable and really awesome. With all the lights off, that's how it looks. Just super cool. I mean, how awesome is that? I can't tell you how bright this really is in person. Really awesome. And even with both my lights on, it's still definitely completely noticeable. Overall, an awesome feature, and one that's unique enough that will definitely entice some people to give this guy a second look, I think. So overall, this is a pretty nice figure. I mean, the suit is quite good. I like the sculpting on the face a whole lot, and definitely it's very unique, especially with the light up feature. I love that. The electric blasts are cool, although they could have done more with them. The hands are quite nice, although I would have liked some slightly different ones that weren't translucent. Overall, though, I think that it's a solid figure. The articulation is very much hindered from the waist down, or from the torso down, basically. He's got the articulation in the arms and his suit doesn't hinder it, although it is much like Superman, where Superman wasn't hindered by his articulation, but if you did know that if you left his suit in a strained position for too long, that it would stay creased, which is the same that's going to happen here. So that is unfortunate, and will tend to make people use him less, unfortunately, because it's a lot of fun to pose figures, but if you're afraid to do it, it's definitely not fun. So that is a shame with this guy. But you can just having him stand there looks awesome. So it's hard to think that it's too much of a disappointment, because I was kind of expecting it. I mean, at a certain point, you'd expect that he doesn't have too good articulation, so that when you get him, you're not disappointed, basically. Overall, though, I think the sculpt is really nice. I wouldn't recommend this for anybody who doesn't want an Electro figure. It's not like you're not wanting Electro, but you know, this figure is going to completely change your mind or anything like that. If you don't want Electro, you're not going to like this. If you do want Electro, though, this is a really nice figure, although think of it slightly more as a statue for the most part, at least. Try not to think that you're going to get any super dynamic poses. But Spider-Man is so dynamic in his posability that I imagine just posing him, shooting a lightning bolt at Spider-Man, having Spider-Man all twisted up and stuff, would look great, and even though you don't have him in much of a strained pose. So yeah, overall, fun figure, just really great looking, basically. He's a great looking figure, although not super, there's not a ton that you can do with them. So there you go, that's my review of the Hot Toys Amazing Spider-Man 2 Electro. Thanks for watching.